Hi, my name is Jess, and I'm here to talk to you today about my journey with RSD, also known as CRPS. RSD stands for Reflex Sympathetic Dystrophy, and CRPS stands for Chronic Regional Pain Syndrome. Back on July 2nd sorry, I'm in pain. Kind of tough to talk right now. Back on July 2nd, 2006, I was married at the time, had 3 kids. My youngest son was only 9 months old. And I was shopping in a Walmart store, and a Walmart employee wasn't paying attention to what she was doing, and she basically ran my feet over, both of them, with a large steel flatbed cart that was piled with boxed furniture. It probably weighed around 900 pounds or so, and I was sent to the ER and diagnosed at the ER with crushing injuries to both my feet. I later found out that I had torn ligaments, severe sprain, broken bones in my feet. At the time, I didn't know this because I was in casts and immobilized, but I later learned that when the injury occurred, I kind of fell up and backwards into my now ex-husband, who was standing behind me, and I had also completely torn my right ACL muscle in my right knee. But like I said, that took about 8 months before we figured out that issue had occurred. So I got injured, diagnosed with crushing injuries. Doctors put me in casts, said, "Oh, you should be healed in like 6 to 8 weeks." During that time, instead of the pain getting better, the pain progressively worsened. And by the time I got my cast off, I was still in really, really bad pain. And the orthopedic doctor at the time didn't know why I was still in pain. So he referred me to pain management. And I went to pain management. Now keep in mind, this is almost 2 months after the injury. I wasn't able to work. So I go to pain management. They prescribe a medley of pain pills. They do x-rays and, various tests and things. And I was also going to physical therapy through them. And when I was at that point, the left foot, I had really, really, really bad pain in. I also had it in my right foot, but it wasn't nearly as bad as the left. And I had significant swelling. My foot, because of all the nerve damage, had really poor circulation. So it was always like a purplish blue color. Sometimes it would be bright red. But the color in my feet was not normal, and it varied, day to day. Even during the course of the day, it would change colors. But I really couldn't do much of anything. And the physical therapy actually was really, really hard because it made the pain levels way, way worse. And I kept complaining about, "Oh, something's wrong with my right knee. I got a lot of pain in my right knee. I couldn't bear weight on my legs or my right knee." And the doctors never really did anything. I take that back. The doctor did an x-ray of my right knee, and he says it just showed fluid in there, and he thought it was just sprained. But I'm like, this injury happened a couple months ago, and I'm still having right knee pain. Something's not right. But because the x-ray came back, normal, they just, didn't really pay any attention to that complaint. My main focus at that point as well was the significant pain I was having in my feet, especially my left foot. And so the pain management, put me on these medications, and I was doing physical therapy, but the pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And to explain a little bit about me, who I was before the injury, I was like the ultimate career woman, super mom. I was super, super, super active in different organizations. I was always working. I started working at the age of 12 doing modeling, and I always had a really good work ethic. And a lot of times throughout my life, I didn't work just one job. I would work like 2, 3. I liked earning money. I liked having money. And when me and my husband got married, we were fortunate enough to be in a good financial position that we were able to build our very first house from scratch. It was like $250,000 house, and it was in a really good neighborhood. And we were fortunate. We had really good lives. I started my own web design business from home back in 1999, and I actively started pursuing it in 2004, even though I was working a full-time career job for an aerospace company. I also was a president of a business club or organization called IAAP, and not only was I president of that club, I also started a new charter chapter from the ground up, and so that's quite an accomplishment. I always was very motivated. I did eBay. I was an eBay power seller, and in order to be an eBay power seller, you have to make $3,000 a month in sales. So I did eBay. I worked my full-time career job. I had my own home-based side business doing websites and logos and created ads and flyers and things like that. So, I did all that. I worked, and I still came home from work and cooked dinner every night. Took very good care of the kids. I was involved in their school and their activities. I was even the historian. I forget what it's called, but I was in PTA, and I was like the historian in PTA. So I basically handled all the newsletters and took care of all the school history pictures that we used for, the newsletters or whatnot. But anyways, I was always involved in activities. And I also like to play sports, like from, I'd say, 6th grade on, even in college. I played basketball. In high school, I played volleyball. I played golf. And then as an adult, I earned 3 degrees. I had marketing and management. I had computerized business. And I earned a doctorate in metaphysics, which is a science-based degree. So I was always very motivated, very active, enjoyed life. I took care of my house. My house was beautifully decorated. It was always clean. I loved to do landscaping and plant flowers and, take care of the yard and things like that. So I was when I look back at my life was awesome. I was able to do anything I wanted to do. My kids and my husband and I, we would go for bike rides pretty frequently during the summer. Every night we would just ride our bikes around, our city, and I was able to do exercising. I was thin, I was in shape, I was financially stable, and then that injury changed my life. It literally changed my life so drastically that after a few months of, seeing the pain management and going through physical therapy, they finally told me, like, look, we think you have this condition called RSD, and they didn't bother to explain to me what RSD was. And the way the doctor just, was telling me, it kind of almost made me feel like he was telling me that I was making all the pain up, that it was in my head. And I got really discouraged because he wouldn't explain what the disease was. He was only just giving me all these pills. And I've never been one to take pills, so that was like, I just didn't know what the hell was going on, and when somebody doesn't take the time to explain something significant like that to you, you kind of tend to assume the wrong things, and that's what I did. I assumed that the doctor was telling me it was all in my head. Oh my gosh, I'm having bad pain, bad back spasm right now. So I decided to go and get another opinion with a different pain management doctor. And he also confirmed the diagnosis of RSD, or also called CRPS. And he told me, he also put me on a regimen of pills and things, but he described basically what the disease was and how there's no cure for it, and I would have it for the rest of my life. And these pain management doctors pretty much did everything you can think of. I was on every pill you can imagine. I had these spinal blocks or lumbar injections. I had nerve cauterizations. I really, over the course of the years, have been through everything you can think of. And I'm trying to not make this a long, drawn-out video, but to make a long story short, because of me being injured in Walmart from a Walmart employee, I was also going through litigation. So on top of being seen by several doctors on my end, all diagnosing me with RSD, the Walmart lawyers also had me see their doctors, and they also said it was very, that basically I had RSD, like all these other doctors were right. And so, over the course of, I don't know, 2.5 years, I had, every procedure you could think of, every medication you could think of. Back in February or March of 2008, it had been like 2.5 years since this all started happening, and I wasn't working. I was very immobilized. I wasn't really able to walk, and I started having very severe anxiety and depression on top of all of this. And I found out that my husband was cheating on me. And not only was he cheating on me, he was doing it with a coworker. So that hit me pretty hard, and it was at that point when I confronted him about the cheating that he admitted he basically couldn't handle the RSD and the way I was, and he told me at that point he wanted a divorce. And while I applaud him at least being honest and saying he couldn't handle what this disease had done to me, and the endless doctor's appointments and physical therapy sessions, I was literally back and forth to doctors nonstop. Had several emergency room visits because of my RSD. I had really bad instability issues, so I had many falls. A couple of times I fell down the steps, so I had countless emergency room visits because of complications from the RSD itself. And then, my husband tells me, hey, I can't handle your disease. I don't like the person you are now. You're not working. You're not the person I married. And I'm unhappy. And when he told me that, it literally broke my heart, because not only am I dealing with this very rare and very debilitating disease, which, by the way, is literally the most painful form of chronic pain out of any disease, out of any condition that you can think of. They have this pain scale called the McGill pain scale, and it rates different, like different types of pain that people can feel. And RSD is rated as the worst. Like, it's a 46 out of a 50. It's worse than childbirth. It's worse than somebody having one of their legs or arms or any type of an amputation. It's worse than cancer. It's worse than, literally worse than anything you can think of. It is the worst form of chronic pain. And I was basically living in a hell of a nightmare with just the pain alone. And, the depression, because I wasn't able to really do anything. I wasn't myself. I couldn't work. I couldn't be active like I used to be. And then now I have my husband telling me he wants a divorce so he could be with this other person because he can't handle my disease and what it was doing to me. And it really took a toll on me because, when I got married to him, it was for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. And he was happy when everything was going great in our lives, and then the second shit hit the fan with me, he basically bailed on me. And he left me high and dry. And at that point, I was in a wheelchair, unable to walk, unable to really function at all. And he moved in with his mom and left me with the responsibility of the house payments, the utilities, insurance, taking care of the kids. I mean, anything you could possibly think of, he left me high and dry. And he did not help out with paying with any of these things. And then I basically was forced to, I had to go to work. I had to find a job. I had no way of supporting the kids or paying bills. And my dad started making payments on the mortgage so I could keep the house. Because, I was in litigation with Walmart. My lawyer did pretty much guarantee that I would get money or some sort of settlement from it. So my dad was making mortgage payments so that we could keep the house. And then when I got the settlement money back, we could pay off the mortgage. So, we were trying to do that. And I ended up getting an office job. And I showed up in there with my leg cast on and everything. And I told them about my conditions and limitations. I told them that I couldn't do any lifting or anything like that. So I basically had a desk job, and it was a great job. The employers were really understanding. But at the same time, because I was in litigation, I had, litigation appointments with the lawyers. I had depositions. I had countless doctor's appointments. I had physical therapy 3 days a week. I had different appointments with aquatic therapy. I had to see a psychologist. I had to see the neurologist. I had to see the pain management. And then I worked that job for 5 months, and every day, even though I sat at a desk, every day I came home in so much pain that I couldn't move, couldn't do anything. I was worthless. So I ended up missing a lot of work because of the condition and all the other issues going on, that was surrounding it. And I ended up losing that job. They liked me. They liked how I did my job when I was able to do it. But I had missed too much work, and they needed somebody more dependable. So they fired me, even though they really liked me. I ended up losing that job. And at that point, my ex-husband was kind of being a dick about, the whole house thing and the divorce. I mean, he was really giving me a hard time. His lawyer tried saying that I wasn't able to take care of my son, so he was trying to get custody. And my ex-husband, one day when I came home from work, all the utilities were shut off. He locked me out of the house. He tried, like, preventing me from even being able to live there, which was pretty shitty because he's the one that up and left me high and dry, and my dad's the one that was paying for the bills. And when I was able to work, I was able to pay for the utilities and things like that. So my husband pulled a lot of really shit moves, and the divorce process was awful. It wasn't really a divorce, it was more of a dissolution, because we had to agree to things to make it quicker, and he's being a real jackass about a lot of things. And legally he was not allowed to lock me out of the house. He was not allowed to shut the utilities off. I mean, we had kids, and so legally he could have been in a lot of trouble for doing that. But I ended up just saying, hell with it. It was already way too much on my plate to deal with. So I had to rent a house, and I was there probably 6 months before I had to leave because I couldn't work and I couldn't pay my rent. I couldn't pay the utilities. So I was then forced to move in with my parents, which really sucked. I love my parents to death. But, it was hard having to move in with them, and it was also a burden for them to have me and my kids. So me and my husband ended up having the dissolution go final, and that was in 2009. And in 2009, I think it was in March of 2009, my pain management doctor suggested, because I was in a wheelchair and the RSD was so severe, he suggested that I get a spinal cord stimulator and at least try it out to see if that would help with the pain. So I did my first back surgery where they basically fuse wires. They cut open your back and they fuse wires to your spinal cord. And then you get this like battery pack that's like that big, and they implanted it into my left butt cheek. And then I had a little remote control that's kind of like a TV remote control that I would carry around with me. And basically it was like an internal TENS unit, but 1,000 times more effective because it was directly inside your back and directly, they had it basically so that it worked from the waist down to my feet. Because by this point in 2009, the RSD spread from being in both feet to both legs. So it was pretty bad. So I had the first surgery done, and it was basically the trial. And in that week, I noticed that the stimulator really did help, alleviate some of the pain. So then a week later, they did the second back surgery where they permanently implanted the device. And gradually over the next, I'd say, 3, 4, 5 months, the pain lessened to such a degree that, I was able to function a little more normally. I wasn't in a wheelchair anymore. I started walking again. At that point, my divorce had become final, so I lost my health insurance. And that really sucked because when I applied for the state health care insurance, they didn't cover the doctors that I was seeing at University Hospital. So I went, I'd say about 3.5 years without any health care, and I wasn't seeing any doctors. And it worked out well because the spinal cord stimulator was still effective enough that I was able to, you know, do things, clean my house, walk, do grocery shopping. I did still have issues on some days where if I overdid it, the RSD, pain started to get pretty bad. But for the most part, I had a really good run for 3.5 years with the spinal cord stimulator. There was like probably maybe 5 times in that 3.5 years that I had to call and ask for a prescription, for Vicodin, just to help with pain because I still had breakthrough pain from time to time. But I was off the meds. I had lost 50 pounds because when I got hurt and I started pain management all those previous years before that, they also put me on steroids, and I had ended up gaining like 50 pounds. So after the spinal cord stimulator, those 3.5 years, I dropped all kinds of weight. I was super skinny again, super happy. The depression seemed to go away. I still dealt with occasional panic attacks, but for the most part, life was pretty good. And then about, I'd say 2 years ago, I started getting really bad back pain. And then when I was using my stimulator, I noticed that the pain started getting worse and worse, even with the stimulator on. And then it just kept getting worse. Like the RSD was getting worse again. And it started spreading into my back. And I don't know what happened, but I started having this severe back pain. And it spread into my left hip. So I ended up having to go and apply for the state health care insurance. And I got referred from my primary care doctor. He referred me to a new pain management doctor that the state health care covered. And I started seeing that pain management doctor in August of 2013. And he put me on, his name was Dr. Yonan. And he put me on a bunch of pills, one of them being steroids. He wanted to do the back injections, everything that I've already been through with all the other pain management doctors that I had seen over the course of all those years. And of course, I started putting on weight again because of the steroids. But this doctor, he was an absolute nightmare. Like, he was verbally abusive in a couple of my appointments. He would not take the time to sit and listen to me. He never examined my feet to look at the RSD. He never ever once physically looked at them, ever. He was like literally the worst doctor I've ever seen. And one time I went in and his verbal abuse towards me was so bad that I immediately called my primary care physician and told him, look, I need to see you, I need an appointment. So they made me an appointment. I saw him, explained to him what happened during this appointment, and he was furious. He's like, no doctor should ever say things to you like that. And I asked him, I said, can you please get me a referral, because with my insurance you have to get on a referral. Can you please get me a referral to see a different pain management doctor, because at this point I couldn't even stand the thought of going back to see him because he was that awful. And my RSD was getting way, way worse, and I had this very, very severe back pain, and he basically wasn't doing anything to figure anything out. Like, he wasn't even giving me the time of day, like literally. He would just prescribe pills and, hey, come see me in a month. Prescribe more pills, see you next month. He was awful. The worst doctor I've ever been to. That's saying a lot. I've been to a lot of doctors, and some of them were pretty shitty, but this guy took the cake. If you ever get referred to Dr. Yonan, out of Lorraine or Oberlin, I'm telling you, don't see him because he's awful. So my primary care physician I found out he ended up quitting his job, up and left the practice altogether. So he disappeared. So I had no primary care doctor. So I basically went about 3 months before I could find a new my primary care doctor. And I again had to get a referral and wait to see a new doctor. So by this time, it's like October 2014. I know I started seeing Dr. Yonan in August of 2013. So by October of 2014, I finally got an approval for a referral to the new pain management doctor. And his name is Dr. Choi. And I started seeing him in January of 2015, which was, a few months ago. Because today is May 8th, 2015. So I've only been seeing him since January. And my first visit was interesting because he's a very soft-spoken, 83-year-old doctor, so he's pretty old, but at least he was nice. He wasn't treating me like crap like the last doctor I had. So I started seeing Dr. Choi, and he sat down, briefly went over my history, briefly examined my feet and my back, didn't really do a whole lot, prescribed me a bunch of meds, and, prescribed me a bunch of meds, and said, oh, we're going to do these spinal injections, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So from January through April, I had 4 different back procedures where they did these SNJB blocks, or nerve blocks or something, and it helped for the left hip pain, but it did not help for my RSD at all, and it did not help for my other back pain that I had going on. After my 4th procedure, I had not had any monthly visits with this doctor since January. So after the 4th procedure, I said, I told the nurse, hey, can I have 5 minutes with this doctor? I really need to talk to him. I haven't had a sit-down appointment with him, and I need to talk to him about my medications because they're not very effective, and I'm still in a lot of pain. So he comes into the examination room. I start to tell him, hey, these meds that you have me on, I'm still in a lot of pain. I'm bedridden. I'm not able to walk, and when I do try to walk, the pain gets unbearable. I basically need you to figure out something to put me on either different pills or a higher dosage of what I'm on now to help with the pain because I'm still not able to do anything. And he literally went, in the middle of me talking to him, he literally walked out of the room, and that was it. He didn't say anything. He didn't let me finish talking. And at that point, I was pretty upset. So when the nurse came in to give me my paperwork and tell me to leave from that procedure, I told her, look, I'm trying to talk to him, and he up and left. I said, I want an appointment where I can sit down and talk to him. He's supposed to be treating me, and I haven't had a sit-down appointment with him since January. So she gave me an appointment, which was April 22nd, 2015, and specifically it was supposed to be for Dr. Choi. So when I show up that day, I didn't see Dr. Choi. I saw a woman named Karen, who was a nurse practitioner. And I said, what's going on here? I had an appointment with Dr. Choi. Why am I seeing you? And she said, well, they scheduled you to see me. And I said, no, because I specifically asked to see Dr. Choi. I said, is he even in the office today? And she said, yeah, he is. And I said, well, I'm supposed to be seeing him. So basically, Dr. Choi blew off that appointment, and I had to see this Karen lady, and she actually listened to me, and I went over again my history with the RSD. I talked to her about how the pills that I'm currently on are not effective, how I've been bedridden for over 6 months, how I'm losing my mobility, how I'm having a lot of major issues, depression, anxiety, and this doctor's not giving me the time of day. And she was very sympathetic and left the room and talked to Dr. Choi. And the only thing he was willing to do was basically telling me, okay, you can take your Percocet every 6 hours instead of every 8 hours. Which kind of made me mad, because I was trying to get through to their heads that, like, look, I'm taking one pill, and the one pill, it doesn't matter how often I take it, the one Percocet is not helping with the pain. Like, if I'm having an 8 or 9 pain day, and I take my Percocet along with all the other pills I'm on, it drops maybe down by 1. So I'm still having 7 or 8 pain instead of 8 or 9. The pain's still significant. I'm still not able to do much. I'm still bedridden. I need pain control that's going to make me not hurt so bad so that I can actually do things. And he wasn't willing to do anything other than say, hey, you can take it every 6 hours instead of every 8. So I leave that appointment. And I was very, very, very clear with that nurse practitioner that I needed an appointment with Dr. Choi, because, I have RSD, and doctors have to be aggressive when they treat this disease, or it will get worse and it will spread. And it was already spreading, and it was already getting worse. And it's because this doctor isn't treating me aggressively. So I get an appointment for May 8th. So I have to go from April 22nd until May 8th, which is today, to get in to see this damn doctor. So I get in to see the doctor. Finally, it's Dr. Choi. He shows up for the appointment. He walks into the room. I'm wearing flip-flops. My left foot is like purplish blue, and it looked horrible. And my toenails are like a deep purple, like the toenails inside are like from lack of circulation, like the toenails themselves are like, I don't know if they're dying or what the hell is going on, but they're a deep purple color. He sees that my foot's completely swollen, and he was visibly shocked, like, wow, like, holy cow, your foot's like really bad. And so at that point, I'm trying to talk to him again, like, hey, I haven't really been able to communicate with you. This is the second sit-down appointment I've had. You're doing these blocks, and while the blocks are helping with the hip pain, which basically he told me before I had something wrong with my SI joint, that's why he was doing the blocks. I said, it's helping with that pain, but I still have significant back pain, and I still have the RSD, and the RSD is getting worse to the point where it's starting to get into my hands. And I showed him my hands, and I don't know if you can see, but they're bright red, and they have like tiny, like little white dots, and it feels like they're on fire, literally. So I tell him the pain is still unbearable. Like, all these pills, you have me on them. I need to either try taking 2 pain pills, or you need to find a different pain pill that works. But basically, he still didn't listen. He's like, well, you have RSD, and that's never going to go away. And I'm thinking, no duh, I know that. I'm going to have this the rest of my life. He's like, well, we really can't do a whole lot for you. And I'm thinking, yes, you can. If you knew RSD, and you were an actual RSD doctor and you had the experience, you would know that there's various treatments that you can do to manage the pain much better than what he's doing. So I got frustrated because he walked out of that office and I wasn't able to finish talking to him. So I talked to the nurse, and I'm pretty upset at this point because she's, typing up my prescriptions. And she basically, I kind of vented. I'm like, look, I'm an RSD patient. I need a doctor that's going to be able to treat me and give me the proper care that I deserve. Like, I feel like I'm just getting blown off here, and he's not doing his job, and he's not listening. So she says, well, blah, blah, blah. Here's your prescriptions. She didn't really say a whole lot. I said, can you please at least ask Dr. Choi to allow me to try taking 2 of the pain pills, because 1 is not doing it. It doesn't matter how many times a day he makes me take it, 1 is not cutting it. Like, they're not understanding that. So I get home, and probably an hour after I've been home, their office calls me. And I don't remember who it was, but it was one of the ladies that works in the office there at the pain clinic. And she says, oh, I wanted to let you know that we talked to Dr. Choi, and instead of taking your pain pill every 6 hours, you can take it every 5. And your baclofen, which is the muscle relaxer, he's going to increase that so that you take it twice instead of once. So basically, I'll take 2 pills 3 times a day instead of 1 pill 3 times a day. And I told her again, I said, I don't mean to vent, and I'm not saying that Dr. Choi is a bad person, but you guys aren't understanding that 1 pain pill, it doesn't matter how often I take it, the 1 pain pill isn't doing anything to help with the pain. I'm still in a lot of pain. I'm still in bed 95% of the day because I can't do anything due to the pain. And she says, oh, yeah, well, I can't really say anything to him because, I don't want to make him mad or offend him in any way. And I says, I understand that, but at the same time, you guys have to understand that if he doesn't understand RSD well enough to treat me, my condition is getting worse. I'm getting worse in his care. I need him to either A, effectively treat me and be open to other treatment plans and better pain control, or I'm going to have to find another doctor that knows RSD better. So she said she would talk to him, do what she can. And I got scheduled for an appointment on June 10th, which is over a month away. And it's not with Dr. Choi, it's with Karen, the nurse practitioner. This is the type of care I get with a disease that has been ravaging my body. It's almost 9 years later. It'll be 9 years in a couple months. And RSD long-term starts to attack your internal organs. Last fall, I was hospitalized for heart issues. And at the time, I didn't realize that RSD could attack the heart. But it does long-term. So I was in the hospital having heart issues because of my RSD. I have severe arthritis now because of my RSD. I have severe depression. I have severe anxiety. And I have severe levels of pain. I'm bedridden. I'm disabled. I had to file for disability, which was the worst thing I could possibly do because I've always been a hard worker, and the fact that I had to file for disability was like heartbreaking because I would like nothing more than to have this pain managed enough so that I can work and enjoy life. And right now I have no quality of life. I really don't. I'm like miserable. And you can't even imagine how horrible the pain is. It feels like you're on fire. And then you have these muscle spasms, and you have Charlie horses, and you have, loss of mobility, and you can't think clearly because you have memory loss. And this disease just attacks everything. It attacks your nervous system. So it's attacking your nerves, and then it starts attacking your muscles. And now I have muscle atrophy in my legs. And, it's not a good place where I'm in right now. And I think people need to understand that this disease is horrible. I've lost a marriage because of it. My friends don't come around. I have a best friend. She doesn't even bother to call or text. I have hardly any family members that will come over here and help me. It's like so many times I wish I could just give up. The only thing that's keeping me alive at this point is the fact that I have kids that I love. And I could never ever do anything, even though I'm in the worst pain of my life. And I don't want to deal with it anymore. My kids are what keep me going. So this is where my life is at, May 8th, 2015. Dealing with severe RSD issues and a doctor who doesn't want to do anything. And that's so typical with RSD patients. A lot of people don't get the adequate medical care. And this is something I have to live with for the rest of my life because there is no cure. And I think the worst part is that I just don't have help, and I don't have family and friends that come and help me, or visit or keep me company. And it's just not a good thing to have to deal with. You're already dealing with a serious medical condition, and then nobody's around to even hang out with you or, cook meals. Like, they know that I can't clean or cook hardly. It'd be nice for somebody to say, hey, let me drop off a meal for you. I don't have that kind of support. I just deal with this disease. And my poor 9-year-old son, he was only a baby when this happened. He's never even seen me normal. Ever. I don't know. It's a horrible, horrible disease. And I want everybody out there to understand that if you know of somebody that has it, and you are a husband or a wife or a parent of somebody that has RSD or CRPS, you need to be there for them, and you need to give them emotional support. You need to help them out. Because I've gone almost 9 years without really any support or help or anything. And thank God for Facebook, because when I'm able to, I can get on Facebook and at least utilize the support system that we have on Facebook for RSD. And everybody in there is really supportive. And it's nice because everybody in there is going through the exact same thing I am. So they get it. So I thank you for watching this really, really long video. I know it's been like almost an hour that I've been talking. But it's long past due that I made a video to tell people how bad this really is. You need to understand. And you really need to do research. And a very good website that has a lot of detailed information is called www.rsdhope.com. You need to visit that website and research every little bit of information on there. Because if you're the one suffering with RSD, or you know somebody that is suffering with RSD, you need to know everything you can about this disease, because doctors sometimes won't do their job, or they don't know how to do it right, and you need to have the knowledge so that you know what to tell them, or that you know enough to say, hey, this doctor isn't treating me the right way. I need to find a doctor that will listen and that will effectively treat this disease. Because if they don't do their job right, you're going to be in a situation like me where it starts to spread everywhere. And I'm pretty much almost full body RSD at this point. And life sucks. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your patience. And I really hope that this video well, at least bring some awareness and, help. If it helps one person, great. But I felt I had to share my story because people need to understand what people go through when they have a disease like this. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button. But thank you anyway for taking the time. Have a good day.